All right, you guys. So we're going to talk about the top 25 best comedies of all time according to IGN. This one's kind of interesting only due to the fact that most of the time consumers like me, like you, don't really agree with, critics, shall we say. So we're going to take a look at their list. We're going to see how right they are. And don't give me too much grief about the background because I am the type of guy that will leave my Christmas tree up year round. So let's get into it. So of course, we're talking about the best 25 best comedies of all time according to IGN. This caught my eye because, like I said, a lot of times when it comes to lists like this, I do not agree. Now, Groundhog Day, I do love Groundhog Day. I love older Bill Murray movies, especially Scrooged. Groundhog Day is definitely up there on the list. Stripes. Bill Murray was just back in the day, just killing it. Oh, what is it? The golf one. I'm drawing a blank on it. Oh my God, Caddyshack. I loved him in Caddyshack. But if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. Groundhog Day. It's basically him getting stuck in an endless loop on Groundhog's Day, playing the same day over and over and over again. Mean Girls. You know, I guess you can say Mean Girls is a comedy. I'm not much for the movie Mean Girls. I'll watch it. It came out while I was in high school, 2004. That was my freshman year. I wouldn't consider it a comedy, but it's not really my cup of tea. But we'll leave it on the list. Okay. Next one, National Lampoon's Vacation. Unpopular opinion of mine. I feel National Lampoon is especially the Chevy Chase ones. They're not that great. I personally, National Lampoon's Christmas, all that stuff. I personally don't care for them. Don't really like Chevy Chase. I find them to be kind of annoying. Rentable on most platforms if you're looking to watch it. And don't worry, guys, I'll leave a link down below that you can actually go and take a look at this list yourself. What We Do in the Shadows. Never even heard of this one. It's hard to find the right balance between horror and comedy, and What to Do in the Shadows does really both. Doesn't really bother. It's an endless witty comedy about vampire roommates, all of them from different centuries, trying to adapt to the 21st century. Half fish out of water jokes, half ghoulish murder horror, and utterly charming. It transforms monsters into everyday Joes and makes us love them, even when their teeth are in our necks. I may have to check that out. That actually sounds like a pretty good comedy. Bridesmaids. So, Bridesmaids, the first time you watch Bridesmaids, it is hilarious. But when you can sit down and watch Bridesmaids like 37 times on E, it kind of kills, the magic of Bridesmaids. It's hard to believe Bridesmaids came out almost 14 years ago. But if you guys want to watch it, it's on Netflix, it's on Peacock. It's, of course, basically the female version of The Hangover. That's the way I always put Bridesmaids out there when people are like, I want to watch Bridesmaids. It's basically the female version of The Hangover. Game Night. I never watched Game Night. It's available on Hulu. Game Night officially marks Rachel McAdams' second film on the list as she and Jason Bateman top line this awesome laugh fest from the previous decade. Anyways, Game Night follows Bateman and McAdams' ultra-competitive couple and their friends during a get-together gone horribly wrong after their scheduled game night unravels into a real-life mystery where one of them gets kidnapped. And then, of course, they end up listing a bunch of other co-stars. But me, I think Bateman's funny. Rachel McAdams, she's okay. But, yeah, anyways, let's keep on going. 19. It's going to be It Happened One Night. Never even heard of this one. Where to watch it? Not applicable. You can't even rent it, I guess. 1934. It's a black and white comedy, I guess. There were comedy romances before this film. It Happened One Night. Pretty much invented the rom-com. Clark Gable stars as a reporter following a runaway socialite, Claudia Colbert, on a cross-country journey, and they spend the whole film sniping before they realize it's almost too late that they're in love. It seems the formulaic, I can never say that now, but this film invented the formula. And it's still just as lively and funny and romantic as ever before. Now, Clark Gable back in the day, if you guys didn't know, is a massive, and I mean a massive name when it comes to film. Next one, The General. This is another one. Never watched. In 1926, where to watch it? The Roku channel with ads, Freeverse, and Tubi. Buster Keaton. I guess it's because they don't have Clark Gable in it. That's why they allow it for free. Buster Keaton is a train conductor who tried to enlist for the Civil War, but then gets rejected because his job is too important and gets labeled a coward. But when the woman he loved is kidnapped, he hops in his engine, the General, and the most epic chase in movie history begins. Keaton was renowned for his unbelievable gags, and he literally defies death multiple times over the course of this complex, hilarious motion picture, which is full of stunts you won't believe were real, even though every single one of them is. And what's crazy is during this time, especially early film, like you'll see the side of a building falling, and they'd have to measure everything out perfectly, and they actually did it. And it like everything was practical effects for the most part. If you guys haven't watched it, there's a channel on YouTube I really like called The Corridor Crew, and they explain like classic movies like practical effects and where they actually use CGI. Dumb and Dumber, 1994. This one is criminally too low on this list. Like, I love the formula between Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels here. Like, it's a buddy road trip movie. That's exactly what it is. And I don't know how many times, and I mean how many times I've watched this movie. I highly recommend it. And pretty bird, pretty bird. Like, I don't know why. Like, that's one of my favorite lines of that movie, when in fact it's probably one of the worst parts of the movie. Another movie that's criminally low on this list, Coming to America, Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, I believe is his name. I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, Arsenio Hall, because he used to have a talk show, and he was massive in the 90s. 80s and 90s, Arsenio Hall was. Eddie Murphy, of course. If you haven't watched any of his stand-up, like Raw, freaking great. But you can watch Coming to America over on Netflix. I know they did Coming to America 2 on Amazon, so it's that good that they released two of them. But uh, King Hakeem travels to New York to find, well, his queen. Refusing an arranged marriage, Hakeem believes he can find true love in the United States with his best friend, Semi, by his side. Like I said, it's fucking great. I love Coming to America. Princess Bride. I guess I've watched The Princess Bride so many times. Marriage. Like, I love The Princess Bride. It's an amazing movie. It's got Andre the Giant in it. You can watch it on Disney Plus, but it kind of falls, in my opinion, under the same guidelines for my, like, when you're talking comedies, as like Mean Girls. Like, it's a great movie, but me personally, I would not put it under comedy, if that makes any sense. Um, he's not fully dead. He's only half dead. Um, it's such a great movie. Basically, you know, it's full of action, romance, magic, and most of all, hilarity. And it's just so good. I love Princess Bride. City Lights. I never watched this one. I've heard about this one because it's got Charlie Chaplin in it, of course. Just like Clark Gable, another huge name during his era. Um, I just, I don't know. I don't think personally I can put some of these older movies, especially like Charlie Chaplin ones, up there when it comes to like top 25 comedies. But I can't really have an opinion on this one because I've never watched it. Um, Chaplin is in his best here, and his little tramp falls head over heels for a blinding flower girl. Chaplin gives one of the greatest early performances in film history with his expert pantomimes, slapstick, and integrity. He cracks the code in comedy, and he was never the same. I mean, Charlie Chaplin, he's good. We're going to keep going. Ghostbusters. So, I love Ghostbusters. I really do. And on top of that, like, you had Dan Aykroyd, you got Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson. They The first movie was so good. And I remember being a kid, and what's insane is like I watched it the first time like 95, 96, so like 10 years after it came out. Um, it's amazing. Like I think the first two were really good. The reboot was terrible, and then Ghostbusters, the new one they did with the kid from Stranger Things. The first one from that was pretty good, but the second one, the Frozen Empire or whatever it's called, was it was a total miss. Borat. So Borat, like a lot of comedies from the 2000s will never be made like today. Borat's one of them. They did a second Borat, but um, it wasn't as like good or shock value as the first one. Um, a lot of that is because everybody's going to recognize Sacha Baron Cohen. Somebody just started their car right outside my apartment. It scared shit out of me. Excuse my language. Um, but there's a lot of movies that were done in the 2000s, such as Borat, that will never be made. They just can't be because people are so hypersensitive. Oh, Shaun of the Dead. Okay, so Shaun of the Dead is an amazing film, and a lot of people sleep on the Simon Pegg, Nick Frost comedies. They did quite a few. They did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, I believe is the other one. It's like a trio of films that they did, and all three of them are amazing. Yeah, here, more like this. The World's End, Scott Pilgrim. I wouldn't put Scott Pilgrim versus the World into the same category, but Hot Fuzz and World's End definitely go into the same category. So good. Like I said, another 2000s flick that I think they could probably remake it today because it wasn't raunchy like the other ones that I'm really thinking of, like Super Bad and stuff like that. But Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, I'm surprised Hot Fuzz isn't on this list yet. This is Spinal Tap. So Spinal Tap it's a funny movie, but with all the real world implications, like turning their volume knob to 11 and just basically wanting to be Motley Crue, it was just over the top for me. I personally didn't care for this as Spinal Tap. Galaxy Quest, another miss for me. I think it should be much lower on the list. I think Groundhog's Day should be higher than Galaxy Quest. Quest is a fun movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie by any means because it's basically a spoof on, Star Trek. And, of course, Tim Allen is, he was an actor. And then the entire crew brought him in to save everything. It's just an okay movie to me. Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. So this one needs to be higher on the list. I loved the Will Ferrell movies that came out during 2000. So you had Ron Burgundy, you had Talladega Nights, you had the other guys, which I'm surprised we haven't seen yet. But The Legend of Ron Burgundy is an amazing movie. I think it's definitely where we got, Steve Carell from. Steve Carell, now granted, he was in The Office during this, or on his come up for The Office during this, and I loved him as Brick. Brick, where'd you get a grenade from? Like, I killed a man. Well, Brick, you may want to lay low. The Legend of Ron Burgundy, what's funny is I only have one bust. So everybody always talks about how they have these pewter busts when they get older. And as I got older, I got one, and it's of Ron Burgundy. Number 7, Young Frankenstein. I agree with this because I absolutely love Mel Brooks movies. Robin Hood Men in Tights, History of the World Part 2. Like, Mel Brooks could not miss when I was a kid, and I used to love his stuff. And one of them was Young Frankenstein. And if you guys didn't know, Frankenstein here was actually the grandpa from Everybody Loves Raymond. And of course, you got Gene Wilder, aka Willy Wonka himself. It's a great movie. It really, really is. I disagree with this one. The Big Lebowski. It needs to be higher. I mean, in my opinion, it would be number 1. I absolutely love The Big Lebowski. This is probably one of the best scenes where he's like, give me until noon, I'll get you a toe with red nail polish on it as well. Is so good. And like, bro, that's one of the things I want to do is like when I grow up, I want to be the dude. Like when I grow up, when I get older, I want to be like the dude. Even though I think me and Jeff Bridges were roughly the same age when he shot this movie. If not, he's probably like 10 years older than me. Such a great movie. Such a great movie. Highly recommended. And you'd be surprised how many people have not watched The Big Lebowski. Number 5 is The Wet Hot American Summer. It shouldn't be on this list. Like, Wet Hot American Summer, in my opinion, should be off this list. It's a good movie. It's entertaining. On top of that, they did spin a TV show off from it. I can't remember which platform. I think it was Amazon that did it. But in my opinion, it's definitely a coming of age summer camp movie. Shouldn't be on this list. Number 4, Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery himself, the first one. I'm really disappointed. I wanted a 4th Austin Powers movie. They've had 3 so far. So Austin Powers 2, and I can't remember what the second one, like the sub, whatever. And then it's gold membered. But Austin Powers, The Spy That Shagged Me is the second one. But it's an amazing comedy. All I know is like, if it's something that came out and my mom was like, you're not allowed to watch it, it's amazing. And Austin Powers is that movie. Airplane 1980. Okay, Airplane is a very, very entertaining movie. Should it be this high on the list? Probably not, but IGN thinks it should be. Monty Python and the Holy Grail at number 2. Unpopular opinion, Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a good movie. Is it a great comedy? Yeah. Should it be this high? Absolutely not. It's very entertaining. It's very funny. It's very dry British humor that, my American ass don't really get, I guess. But it's on Netflix now if you want to watch it. And number 1 is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned How to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. There's a lot of people that have told me, and I say that as I have a nuclear bomb shirt on, that this movie's good, that it's a classic. And I have never actually watched it. I know the Criterion collection has it on there. I know I could probably watch it on Amazon. But you're missing a lot of really great comedies on here that maybe it's because of my age that, like Super Bad, Hot Fuzz, Talladega Nights. Unless there was like some kind of rules that they were like, okay, we can only have one on here, but definitely Big Lebowski for me is number 1. And I think Shaun of the Dead should be in the top 5 as well. And I mean, granted, Shaun of the Dead is a British comedy with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. And it's the first time I remember ever seeing Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. And I think, Simon Pegg, I think it was right after that or Hot Fuzz. He did another one. It was called Run, Fat Boy, Run. And that one was pretty good. It was like his fiance was going to leave him unless like he got into shape. Anyways, you guys, let's go full screen. That right there is the top 25 comedy movies of all time according to IGN. Do I agree with them? Absolutely not. I think that they missed a lot, but at the same token, I will give them props because they did kind of expand the horizon when it comes to the comedy genre. Because, like I said, in my opinion, Mean Girls really isn't a comedy. Princess Bride really isn't a comedy. And then throwing some early era movies in there that has Clark Gable, that has Charlie Chaplin. I'll give them that because, me being in my 30s, a lot of those movies I haven't watched. Now, granted, I have watched some classic movies like 12 Angry Men, To Kill a Mockingbird, and stuff like that. But I want to hear your opinion down below. Do you think IGN was on point with this, or do you think they missed? That's the real question. Y'all take it easy. Have a great, wonderful day, and I'll catch you later. Bye!